What's up, buds? Let's talk about Birds of Prey and the fabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Welcome to the YouTube channel. My name is Ryan, and today we are talking about Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Before we get to anything else, we have a contest going on. Yep, we are giving away a Baby Yoda. All you have to do is make sure that you're subscribed to the channel before February 29th, and we will be giving away this Baby Yoda, or the child, or thing with large ears and cutie eyes, in case the Disney overlords are watching. But for everyone else, Baby Yoda, you could win them. So all you have to do is subscribe. The details will be on the bottom. We're going to run a draw on February 29th. It's a leap year. Cool, right? So, this Baby Yoda could be yours. We'll ship it to you. This is only open to people in Canada or the US. And this guy could be yours. All right. Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn is directed by Cathy Yan. She directed a movie called Dead Pigs, and it premiered at Sundance and won some awards. She had also done a bunch of shorts before that, so I guess she was brought in to kind of sidestep the last Suicide Squad movie before James Gunn makes his next Suicide Squad movie called The Suicide Squad. Warner's, see, this is confusing. You got to figure out what's going on here. I'm fine with movies not being all connected, but some are connected and some aren't connected. But the good news is, at least the movies are good now. Couple things before we get in. I am a big Harley Quinn fan and I love Margot Robbie. I grew up on Batman the Animated Series, and I had been waiting a long time for them to get Harley Quinn on the big screen right. And in Suicide Squad, they did get her right. It's just that the rest of the movie is complete trash and should be flushed down the drain, starting with Jared Leto's Joker. Yeesh. Also, side note, I hope they can find in the future a Joker that can match Margot's Harley. So Joaquin's Joker from the Joker is in a different universe. See, Warner's confusing. You gotta get this all sorted out. The movies are good now. Now you just gotta tie them together so people aren't like, who's what, where? Anyway, I hope they can find an actor that can match Margot's crazy. Also, is Matt Reeves Batman in this universe, or Joaquin's Joker's universe, or Shazam, or Wonder Woman, or a new universe? I don't know. Okay. Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Let's go. First, out of the gate, soundtrack, awesome. Now, before we get to the rest of the great stuff, let's get kind of the shitty stuff out of the way. First of all, I think this movie owes a little too much to the Deadpool movies, although, thank God for Deadpool, because he cracked open the R rating, and that adds so much to what they're doing here. We'll get more to that later. Second, it's called Birds of Prey, but it's really a Harley Quinn movie with an intro to Birds of Prey, which I'd love to see them do proper. Bring in Barbara Gordon and just let them fly. Sorry about that. I was going to say let them roll, but then Barbara's in a wheelchair, so there was no winning there. Oh, and another thing that didn't really work for me was kind of the end climax of the movie. I was kind of hoping that they were building to like a go for broke kind of like final scene. But when the scope kind of opens up a little bit more, that part doesn't really work for me. Also, the first few minutes of the movie are a little bit choppy. It took me a few minutes to kind of get into the vibe of the movie. Oh, and they could have done a little bit more with Mary Elizabeth Winstead. What they did do was great, but they could have done more. She's so great, and I think she could have handled more when she ended up being more of a side character than I would have hoped. Alright, got that negative shit out of the way. This movie is a blast. Margot grabs the reins of Harley Quinn and she just goes for it. This isn't exactly the typical Harley Quinn that I grew up with, but the spark of crazy is there and she completely owns the movie and the role. Wolf of Wall Street came out like 7 years ago, and since then Margot Robbie has shot to the A-list, and she deserves it because she's like a real movie star. So not only is she committed to Harley as a character, she's also physically all in. And this is such a physical role that Harley's chaos demands the kind of commitment that she's putting in here. It's great, great stuff. Oh, and also a little shout out to the Harley Quinn animated series. It takes what they're doing in this movie and kind of dials it up to 11. It's bananas. You should check it out. Speaking of mayhem and physicality, the action sequences in this movie are wild. They're inventive, they're colorful. I love that they were choreographed in a way that really used the environments. And it was more than just interesting to watch. It was also kind of a lesson in using your budget. So most of the set pieces in this movie are set in kind of a small scale, whether it be like the police station lobby or the evidence room or an alley or the fun house. They're smaller rooms, but the choreography uses the whole room, and it's inventive and fun, but they're also small, so they can keep the budget small, but then they fully use the space, and it is great. Also, shout out again to Deadpool for breaking open that R rating, because bones are allowed to break here. Harley's allowed to get high on cocaine when it gets blown up in her face. The bad guys are allowed to swear. Black Mask is off the rails, and he's disgusting, and he's exactly what he should be. Ewan McGregor is wild in the role. He's just as committed to his Black Mask as Margot is committed to her Harley Quinn. And it is fun to watch. I wanted more of him. Also, Chris Messina, you know him from, he was Mindy's man on the Mindy Project, and he was great in Sharp Objects. He plays kind of a henchman, manager, lover, and it is really interesting to watch. It kind of reminded me of this latest season of Mrs. Maisel, because that season kind of deals with the relationship between the manager and the talent. And it's interesting to watch this henchman kind of manage Black Mask like he's the talent, but that he also loves him. And that kind of plays in the Maisel thing too, that you have to kind of love them and you have to kind of take care of them. So he's taking care of them and then also taking orders from him. It's a really interesting role. And I haven't seen anyone kind of do that in a movie like this. A lot of the marketing and kind of talk about this movie is like girl power, and it's like they're kicking ass and everything. And all that girl power stuff worked for me. It's earned and it's like essential. All these women have been treated like shit. And it's exciting to watch them take that power back while laughing and eating and hanging out. The group has a great chemistry together. So while the final act didn't work as well as I hoped, the conclusion of the whole thing really did work. These movies where the bad guys and the good guys get together on one team, sometimes that's really hard to pull off without making the characters feel like they're being compromised. So in this movie, Harley's allowed to be bad. She does grow as a character, but she's allowed to be like a bad guy. The other members of the Birds of Prey are allowed to be good, but they also bond with each other. And so that's really hard to do, and it works here, and it's interesting. And other than the Birds of Prey stuff, which it's unfortunate that it's in the title because it does kind of feel like I can understand why comic book fans would be kind of annoyed by it, because it kind of takes away from the impact of the movie by calling it Birds of Prey when it's really not a true Birds of Prey. That said, they work together and it's fun to watch. So Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn is a fucking blast. It's fun to see Harley on her own, dealing with all the people that she's pissed off. It's fun to see her make her first real friends. This movie kind of makes full use of the R rating in a really interesting way. It's a grounded yet heightened reality, which I think really works for where we are right now. If you look at the Tim Burton movies from the 80s or the Nolan movies from the 2000s, I don't think they would work in our current environment. Batman has always been about his villains, and with the R rating, the Joker is allowed to do what he's doing in his movie, and it works. And Harley is allowed to do what she's doing here, and it works. And I think that's right for right now. Like, compared to what's going on in the MCU, which I do like, they have to kind of handle their villains with kid gloves because they're not allowed to go full evil, because full evil is rated R. So allowing the Joker and Harley Quinn to just be bad guys, it feels more appropriate for kind of the world that we're living in right now. And that's it. Birds of Prey, The Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. It's a great movie. I really enjoyed it. Love to know what you thought. Put some comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe. We are doing our giveaway to February 29th. You can win this guy. Also, I wanted to say there's a podcast version of this channel, as well as a new podcast that we launched last week called the Creative People Podcast. I'm very excited about it. Every week I talk to a different creative in a different field, and I'm trying to cover all the different fields. I want to talk to artists and filmmakers and people who, make shit like this, because the creative spirit I want to know what's in common between a tattoo artist and someone who sells things on Etsy, and I want to know what the differences are, and all of those forms of creativity are valid. So that's the Creative People Podcast. You can subscribe. It's part of the What's Up Bud Network. Link below. All right, enough from me. Thanks for watching. See you next time.